What's up, guys? I hope you're all feeling really well. Um, I just wanted to talk about the way the EU server currently is and basically my opinion on it and how I personally feel about it, and maybe just shedding some light on the situation if some people aren't aware. So I just thought I'll give you a heads up on that. Firstly, what I'd like to say is thank you for those that have been watching my videos. I really appreciate it. It's meant an awful lot to me just to see that people are actually watching them and commenting if they feel like they have something to say. It means a lot, and I just want to say thank you. So, cheers. What I want to talk about first is probably like the state of the game. And obviously, we transitioned on May 16th of 2022. It was a bit of a rocky road, really, because we didn't have payment methods. We still don't. Um, we got currencies for our regions about 7 months in. Um, we was being charged tax on top of tax for a few months. So in Europe, I believe, I think it's all of Europe, we have our tax automatically applied to our prices, whereas obviously America don't. So obviously our tax was already on, like, for instance, your crown, sorry, your crowns, and then obviously, which is 20%, and then obviously they were adding an extra 20%, so we were paying like $110 when we shouldn't be having to. They did sort that, so obviously what price we were seeing is what price we was paying, and like that was sorted. So obviously now we have currencies. We're not paying extra tax, and we have received content updates. Um, but obviously the big issue with this is obviously a lot of people aren't being able to play because they can't pay, which is rather bizarre that it's not been an issue that KI has been trying to handle ASAP since they like the money, but they haven't. They said that it's an issue with the payment provider, but logically thinking, if you've had an issue with the payment provider for a whole year, maybe you should get a different payment provider, possibly, because clearly it's not working. Um, but obviously, what do I know? I don't work there anyway. Um, yeah, so that's holding a lot of players back when it comes to actually wanting to be on the server because they can't. Um, and so we have lost quite a few players due to that, which obviously when that does get sorted, I'll imagine there'll be quite a few players rolling in to come and play because they can pay and they can actually go outside of Wizard City. Um, and obviously, into Crocotopia when there's those 3 months where you can go into Wiz and Croc. But obviously, we can't have the whole arc free because we don't have that in the game files yet, so we've just got the first two worlds. Secondly, I'd simply just talk about the events really, because the events are a funny topic really. Beast Moon rotates quite regularly in the monthly calendar. It's probably like once or twice, and then the other 2 weeks is Pet Promenade or Spiral Showcase or Spiral Scene. And it tends to rotate often, as I've said, and on the UK server particularly, not many people play Beast Moon, and when I say not a lot, I mean me and Mayonnaise Nita. I cannot pronounce that. I'm so sorry. I will put it on the screen now. We're literally waiting in Beast Moon for a good 2 hours on a time that King Zal had set. Community manager Spark had set. I got that message on the screen as well, saying meet up at this time, this day. Share like images on like your socials like Twitter with hashtag blah blah blah. And obviously me and I'm just gonna call them Mayo. Me and Mayo were waiting for 2 hours straight, and literally nothing. So that was really poor, and that tends to be the case constantly anyway. Um, when it comes to events in general, if it's an event that is reliant on you having other players, you're going to have a very hard time trying to get someone to do it. And it's not because they don't want to do it, from what I've noticed, it's because the time. the timing for people in their lives doesn't match the schedule for when people want to do it, which is what I've noticed a lot. Because obviously people are at university or work or wherever they are, and on top of that, so when it comes to like Beastmoon, for instance, you do ask people, but they'll either say no, or they don't know how to play it and they're not willing to even give it a go. So that is also an issue, which not much us as a player base can sort, because obviously if you don't want to play it, you don't want to play it, and you know that's just become the norm really. But when it does come to events, it is a big issue because obviously, for instance, your Scroll of Fortune that people are wanting to, progress in, they're being held back because they can't progress in that until it comes to an event where you can do it by yourself. So, for instance, Balance Decathlon or Deaf Decathlon or just a Decathlon in general. Um, Spiral Show. So, it's the Spiral Scene or Spiral Showcase. I believe it's the Spiral Showcase. The Spiral Scene, yeah, the Spiral Scene. Yeah, you can do that one by yourself. The Pet Promenade is one that you can also do by yourself, and you can actually progress quite far with those, especially when double scroll of fortune points are active. But for instance, the events like the Spiral Showcase and the Beast Moon, you can't do anything because if people don't want to take part in it, then you can't progress with that. And obviously, with the Spiral Showcase, you're adding your castles and houses to the castle tours. And if nobody wants to do that, then you can't really progress with that. But to be fair, Spiral Showcase isn't as badly held back because people do add their castles. But the main issue really is Beast Moon. And obviously, sometimes, depending on people's situations, sometimes, occasionally, Spiral Showcase. But yeah, it's an issue that draws a lot of people away from wanting to even take part because they know that they'll be waiting in an endless loop, really, which is really, really unfortunate. Um, but so is the amount of players that we really have, because we did have quite a few players before we transitioned from Gameforge. We had quite a handful, and everyone seemed to know everyone, and it was like a nice little tight knit community, and it's really nice to have that when obviously everyone gets along and everyone's fine. Like obviously there was a few instances where people were a bit eh, but that's just people for you. Um, but yeah, it was nice, and obviously on the last day that we was on Gameforge's servers, we all gathered in the commons, and it was really nice. Like we all just took like a big group photo, and obviously the frame per second drop was just unreal. And my friend that was on like a 10-year laptop, she was just like, I can't see anything, I can't see anything, and it was really really funny. But yeah, it was really really nice. And obviously, what's unfortunate about that is the next day when we transitioned, half of them didn't even transition, and whether that be because they weren't aware of that, which I don't know how this has become a problem where people wasn't aware of the transition, because it was made public, loud and clear. And I know that obviously not everyone is always using like their social handles, and obviously not everybody is always going to be keeping up to date with their favourite game, but it was out in the air for a good few months. So obviously people didn't get a code, or they didn't have a code to put in because they lost it, or they didn't check it in time, or they didn't have access to the email because when they made the account, their email was just an email that they used randomly and don't know their password to it, or it's been deactivated. There's all sorts of reasons as to why people didn't transition, but it happened, and that's that. But no, I'll get the photo up on the screen when I find it, and I will literally show you and just envision that picture cut in half. That's basically our player base at this point. Now, like, don't get me wrong, like we have had like new players, but like when they create an account on this server, they simply come into the commons as a level like 2 wizard, and they simply come up to whoever is there saying, is it worth playing on this server? And it doesn't matter what answer you give them, they still move to the North American server anyway. So it's like whenever I've been asked, I'm just like, well, personally, I believe it is, because obviously if it's better for you, and obviously it's your country and just where you live and stuff, and obviously it helps a lot. And obviously if you ever need help, I'm always on 9 times out of 10 anyway. So just drop me a message, and I try and be as like welcoming as like I possibly can, and like and I know that a lot of people are very welcoming about it as well, but it's just you just can't win. And then obviously on top of that, there's always the complaint about there isn't enough people playing, or the popularity isn't as high as it is in the North American server, and like that's an issue with you, because if you choose to make an account and actually decide to stay on the server and play, you'll be increasing that population by one. And obviously, the more people that did that would mean the more people that there is on the server, but people don't seem to understand the logic of that, and they just move away because there isn't enough people. But the reason there isn't enough people is because you all keep moving away. So it's just a constant vicious cycle, really, and you can't really win. However, obviously, when it comes to like other like side things that you can do, like PvP, it's PvP isn't exactly dead, at least on the UK server. Like you get the set few people that take part in PvP and join tournaments, and they do their own thing, and then that's that. Um, and they basically do that all day or for as long as they're on. They'll occasionally then do something else, and then they'll bug off somewhere. But PvP isn't really an issue as long as you all like communicate and be like, oh, tournament in this amount of time. Do you want to join? If you want to join, say yes. If you don't want to join, you say no. Sometimes you get a bit of a backlash of saying no, but I'm just like, I don't care. If I don't want to join, I don't want to join. You know. But I think one of the big issues on the server, along with Beast Moon, is obviously pets. And with pets, I looked at the North American server the other day before I thought about making this video, and obviously we've only got 11 pages of pets in total, and that's across all of them. On the North American server, they've got like 11, 12 pages per each school pet, and then they've got, do the math, that's like 100 something pages. No, it's not. It's like 80 pages. Sorry, my math is terrible. It's like 80 pages for Love Pets, whereas we've only got 11. And like literally for every school, it's literally 2 pages. Two, 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 two. And obviously, some of these pets that are out here, some of them are useful, but a lot of them aren't. And obviously, it's very hard for people to actually get a decent pet. I know that you can go out your way and like spend your own time doing that, but obviously it's very very tedious, and you've got to have the patience of it. And obviously you can go to your friends and be like, you've got a pretty decent pet. Can you lend it me? And people do say no, and it's really like that, and I don't know why. Like there was one person, who had a really good myth pet, and now it's just like, yo, would you be alright with lending that pet? And they said no, saving it for a friend. 4 months passed, asked them again, thought, the friend must have had it by now. No, still saving it for a friend. And I'm like, seriously, bro, like, is your friend alive? Like, who is this friend? But no, it's really, really tedious, and I'm really, really scared for obviously when we do get guilds, because you need 12 players, um, and they all need to be online at the same time, and obviously they all need to take part in that, and if we can't even get 12 players to Beast Moon, I'm really scared for what it's going to be like for when we get guilds. And obviously, there will be people that will have this, like, idealism that they have to have their own guilds, so they'll be stubborn and their ego will get hurt if they join another person's guild. And I know that it will be like that. And I feel like when it comes to that, if the population doesn't change by the time we get that update, we will have to join one guild as like a whole server. It can't just be everyone makes a whole guild and doesn't dare let their ego be dipped a bit just to join a guild. And that's what really worries me, and I think it worries a lot of players as well because they don't want to have a content update that they can't take advantage of, and I feel like that is going to be the issue. And I obviously the Rate My Stitch event, Rate My Stitch update that just recently came out like last month. I feel like there'll be issues with that as well if we don't get enough playing, get enough of a player base because there won't be people that will be taking part in that event. And now I don't fully understand how that update works because I've not played it, but from what I've gathered, you do need people playing it, and obviously, if there isn't people playing, then you're not going to get the full advantage out of that. But obviously, following back to like the pets issue, I feel like there is quite an easy solution to that, and I don't know if it's a possible idea or something that could be implemented into the game, but with the hatchmaking kiosk, maybe make it connected to all servers somehow. I don't know how that would work. I'm not invested in that side of gaming. I don't know how bringing everything together works. Um, but obviously, if it's possible, maybe you could obviously merge the whole kiosk into one, and obviously you don't see who put that pet in the kiosk anyway, and you don't see whose pet you're hatching with. All you get told is, as the owner of the pet, that you're given a hatch pepper every time someone hatches with your pet. That's all you're told, and that's all you need to know. And obviously, if we could have all the pets combined into one, people will find the pet that they're after. And obviously, if there is no pets that are added by the EU server, at least there'll be pets added by a different server. And I feel like that would help bring bring a bit more, what's the word, like a bit more of a community to the game because people will have more outlooks as to where to get a pet from. And it's the same with the servers in general, really. Like a lot of people do want to be merged as one, whether that be all the EU servers merged as one, which everyone's confused as to why that isn't happening anyway, or why don't we just merge all the EU servers of a North American server together as one? It'll be a bigger player base, and obviously everyone will be united as one whole community instead of having to have separate channels and funds to run a server. And there's a lot of things that they would save in money wise if they just merged them all together, from what I could gather. But obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of that either. I don't know if that's even possible. I'd imagine that would have to be on the same version of the game for it to even work. So that would be years down the line, I'd imagine. But I do know that there is players of a North American server that wouldn't want that to happen because obviously, I won't say they hold a grudge, but I feel like there's some sort of spite towards the EU players because of obviously the Gameforge sales that they gave us, like all the happy hours they gave us towards the end of the server. Um, Obviously, all the sales that we had in the crown shop, like the 1 crown elixirs for like level 50 elixir and all sorts. All the codes they gave us for like that mount, the 50% speed boost mount. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head. Um, but I'll get a picture of it on the screen. Um, there's many things that we was given, and I feel like there is a bit of, I guess it's justified, but I don't feel like the people that didn't take advantage of it should be held accountable for that. Um, but I understand the reasoning as to why they may not want us to be merged with them because obviously the advantages that they got, that we got, that they didn't get. But then on the other hand, you could see it as advantages that they get every single day. They get regular updates. They get all this stuff first. They get to try it out first. They get to be the brand new people, and we're just the second hand people at this point because we don't get the updates until like a year, maybe even 2 years later. And by that point, it's old. It's boring. It's rubbish, and I feel like it works both ways. But in conclusion, I don't really know what can be said or what can be done to help salvage this this server. Like, I don't think it's dead, but I think it's on its way of that path of dying due to many reasons, and obviously by that point of it being salvageable, I think people will have just given up or moved to a different server anyway. But I'm not saying that the game isn't worth playing because I love playing this game, and if you feel like you want to play this game, I'd definitely give it a try and obviously see if you like it. but I think that we need a lot of optimism to help bring the server to one of its glory days again. Because back in its prime, it was very very popular, and it had a large player base, and obviously they had those. They did this, Game Forge used to do this thing on Fridays. It was like Knockout Fridays or something, and it was really really fun. It was really unique to us, and it was just like one of those things. It's like a lot of nostalgia that comes with the server for a lot of us, and I feel like it would be shameful for that to just disappear. So, if you have any comments about anything that was said in this video, do let me know. And obviously, if you enjoyed the content, please give it a like. And if you're feeling nice, do subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. So, thank you.